So, dear sisters and brothers, first of all, could I say what a great joy and honour it is to be with you this evening. My first visit, of which I hope will be many visits over the years, to this great school. I do feel, I have to confess, ridiculously overdressed. I feel like I'm the victim of some clever Colleen Rooney sting, you know, where I'm the only one who got the message that it's fancy dress, and all of you are dressed normally. But there we are. I'm going to soldier on. A few years ago, I was walking down the high street on a day off, i.e. I wasn't dressed like this, but neither did I have my clerical collar on. So on the face of it, there was nothing to give me away as a bishop in the Church of England, except, of course, for the natural aura of holiness that, of course, all of us have, all of us bishops, I mean. So anyways, I'm walking down the street, and you know what it's like sometimes on a crowded high street on a Saturday. You often find people with clipboards who are doing some sort of market research, and they stop you in the street to ask you questions. Most of us, when we see somebody hoving into view with their clipboard, we usually kind of eyes down, give them a bit of a wide berth. I, on the other hand, am one of those slightly weird people who likes being stopped by people with clipboards on a Saturday morning in the high street, and I try to catch their eye, which counterintuitively is actually the very best way not to be accosted. Anyway, on this Saturday morning, this young woman doing her market research, I can't now remember what the product was she was researching. She did stop me. I was dressed like a relatively normal human being as I walked down the street, and she had lots of questions she wanted to ask me. But this is still England, and so you don't ask a total stranger in the street, even when you're doing market research, a vulgar question like, how much do you earn? But that's what she wanted to know, because in order to do her research, she had to put me into some sort of category. You know, you have these kind of social categories according to your income and all the rest of it. So she comes at it in a kind of roundabout way by asking me all sorts of other questions, which she will then find out what category I go into. Anyway, one of the questions was this. She said to me, "What would you like to be more than anything else?" Now that is an interesting question. And I wonder whether those of you who are leaving this school, I wonder whether it's a question that actually is going round in your head. What am I going to do with my life? What am I going to be? Perhaps you have cherished dreams and ambitions and ideas in your life about what you're going to be, and maybe the pathway forward at the moment seems clear. Maybe you're off to uni or going into an apprenticeship or got a job that will get you on the path to where you want to be. And please don't think, just because you're at that age leaving school and embarking on the next great stage of life's adventure, don't think all us old people have completely relinquished our dreams. Because I reckon we probably haven't. Let me tell you, there's many a bad day where, I did strike lucky a few years ago, so I went down the job centre one day, and would you believe it, Archbishop of York. So I really struck lucky. But on a bad day at Bishopthorpe Palace, you get a nice pad to go with the job, I'll tell you. But on a bad day at Bishopthorpe Palace, where I'm feeling overwhelmed by all the stuff that I have to deal with, the responsibilities I carry, the challenges for the church and the world, I have little fantasies about what I would like to be more than anything else other than being the Archbishop of York. Most of my little dreams about doing and being something else revolve around cooking or football. So basically, I've not changed since I was 10 years old. If you'd have met me when I was 10 and said, what do you want to be more than anything else? I could have answered immediately, I want to be a footballer. And here I am, 50 years later. I'd still quite like to be a footballer. I think it's probably not going to happen. I've had to resign myself to that. Or when I was a teenager, when I was your age, much to my parents' irritation, I packed in the piano lessons, I bought myself a guitar, and I wanted to be a rock and roll hero. And again, if I'm honest, I'd still quite like that, but my career, in terms of being a rock god, my career has taken a bad left turn. But we all do have dreams and ideas, things that we long for, things that we aspire to. And that is good and normal and okay. And we must try to pursue our dreams insofar as we are able, and we must also at times learn to temper our dreams, using the gifts that we've been given to the full. Each of us has been given a different set of gifts, a different set of opportunities, a different set of passions and circumstances. And what we have to do is find the way of using what we've been given to the very best for ourselves, but also for the world. Anyway, back to the high street. Have you ever had this experience? Somebody asks you a question, you answer the question, and your answer is truthful. It comes from deep inside you, but you are surprised by your own answer. The words come out, and you know them to be true, but it wasn't like what you were consciously expecting to say. So there we are, standing in the high street. She's got her clipboard. She's trying to find out what category to put me in. She really wants to know how much I earn, and she says to me, so what would you like to be more than anything else? What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? And I find myself replying, a saint. And she's at this point, she's like looking down her clipboard, like that's not on the list, that saint. And she says to me, that isn't really what I meant. And I'm standing there in the street. And it's a moment of revelation. Because I realise that is what I want to be more than anything else. I want to be a saint. And the good thing about being a saint is it doesn't stop you being a footballer or a cook or a mathematician or a window cleaner. Sainthood, well, what does it mean? I don't think saint means impossibly perfect person. I think saint means becoming the person you're meant to be. I think that God has a picture in God's heart of the very best that each one of us can be. That God has indeed made us unique and different with our particular set of gifts, passions, circumstances, opportunities, and what God wants is for us to use them to the full to become the very best person we can be, to become the person we are meant to be. God cherishes in God's heart this picture of you, the very best you. The trouble is, in our world today, so many of us, and I think especially younger people, are under this enormous pressure to be someone else. And the world seems to be constantly telling us, do you know what, actually being you isn't quite good enough. You're not thin enough, you're not tall enough, you're not clever enough, you're not funny enough, you're not wealthy enough, and you can't drive down the road, switch on your phone, watch the telly, open a magazine, without being bombarded by images of what you're supposed to be like. And then it tries to sell you something. Do you know what? Maybe if you did drive that smart car, and if you did wear that designer label pair of jeans and maybe that perfume, and particularly if you had that body surgery, maybe you would be happy. But I need to tell you, we know it, but I need to tell you, none of it works. Maybe that's not quite right. It works just enough to get you hooked. And sometimes I think in Britain today, we are just nurturing a nation of junkies, all hooked on the idea that you can actually purchase your way to happiness and fulfillment. And the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ sets you free. It sets you free because God says, you're okay. I made you and I love you as you are. And I do want to change you, but unlike the rest of the world, I don't want to change you into somebody else. I want to change you into the beautiful you that I made you to be. Let me put it another way. On that great and terrible day when I meet God face to face and there will be a reckoning and God says to me, I don't think he'll say to me this. I don't think he'll say to me, okay, why weren't you Barack Obama? I don't think God will say that to me. And I don't think he'll say to me, why weren't you St. Francis of Assisi? But I think he might say to me, why weren't you Stephen? Because I made you, I loved you. There's never been another one like you, and there'll never be another one again. I gave you this very particular mix of gifts and passions and talents and circumstances and opportunities, and all I ever wanted for you was joy and fulfillment. And I know that you can have that joy and fulfillment by becoming the very best you, but you spent your life thinking that you weren't good enough, or wishing you were somebody else and buying into all that stuff which doesn't work but gets you hooked. There's an amazing poem by the great English poet W.H. Auden called In Praise of Limestone. And in the poem he says this: the blessed, i.e. the saints, the blessed will not care what angle they are viewed from, because they have nothing to hide. And particularly to those of you who are leaving this great school, stepping out into the rest of life, that's what I pray for you. I pray that you'll be yourself, that you will let God change you into yourself, that you won't be oppressed and hooked on all the things the world says about being you isn't enough. It is. And that you will find that you have nothing to hide. And finally, I've read a bit today about your school's values of justice, compassion, forgiveness, and trust. These are beautiful things. They are things not just this school needs, they are things our world needs. And I reckon that what you've received in this school, well, many things. But I reckon you've also received affirmation. The affirmation that you are okay, that you have great gifts and skills and talents to offer the world. And I pray that you will find your way in life, that you will pursue your dreams and, where necessary, temper your dreams to discover how to be the best you that you can be. And that you will find joy and fulfillment not just in becoming yourself, but in serving others and serving the common good and affirming others and letting them become themselves. And that those values will shine out of your lives, and that even you might be holy and join me on the journey of becoming a saint. Evidently, I've still got a long way to go, but I tell you, it's a journey worth making. Amen.